started again. Before I turn it over to Chairman Dawson, thank everyone for coming. We have a quick update briefing from our Emergency Management Director, Warren Lee, followed by comments from the North Carolina Highway Patrol First Sergeant Troy Pope, and we'll go from there. Following the briefing, the Joint Information Center staff is available to assist anyone with any other media resources and needs that you may have. Photos and that sort of thing will be available to assist. Chairman.
Thank you. On behalf of the New Hanover County Board of Commissioners, welcome you all once again here today for the latest update on the Hurricane Matthew. I want to appreciate our Mayor Bill Sappho for being with us and in the Emergency Operations Center meeting all morning, and appreciate your support and everything that you do for our city of Wilmington. I'd like to welcome once again the Director of our Emergency Management and 911, Warren Lee, who will give us the briefing. Deputy Director Stephen Steele as well. Thank you for all of your hard work. And Warren has all the latest information, so I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you all for being here this morning. If you haven't seen the 11 o'clock advisory from the National Hurricane Center, New Hanover County is now under a hurricane warning. The latest track has come out from the Hurricane Center, and based on the most recent forecast information, the center of Hurricane Matthew's track is now expected to come much closer to our area than we had originally anticipated. Right now, the estimate is somewhere in the 25 to 30 mile range offshore, which is a significant difference from where we were yesterday. The one big thing this morning that has become preeminent with us is the danger of flash flooding associated with this storm. Rainfall estimates have now been up to somewhere between 10 and 12 inches across our entire area. The heaviest of that rainfall is not expected to begin until sometime tomorrow midday to mid-afternoon. Tropical storm force winds should begin impacting our coast sometime tomorrow morning, mid-morning maybe, and persist throughout the day tomorrow, as will the heavy rainfall. The storm will eventually move to our south sometime on Sunday, and at that time we probably will see a shift to northerly winds in the afternoon. However, need to keep in mind that those winds will remain gusty throughout Sunday. One of our biggest concerns with this storm has been and continues to be the threat of widespread, extensive power outages because of the heavily saturated ground and potentially tropical storm force or even low hurricane force winds that will be here tomorrow. We do want to emphasize that this is a significant event for us. It is not one to be taken lightly. We continue to monitor the storm's track with every advisory and are prepared to take measures as we need to. Our Emergency Operations Center is fully staffed as of 11 a.m. this morning. We are going to close county government offices today at 3 p.m. and those offices will remain closed for as long as necessary. We don't want to tell you we'll be back in business Monday because of the uncertainty of the situation with electricity and other things that may be going on Monday. Also, our public shelters, we will open 2 emergency public shelters in Wilmington this afternoon, one at Johnson Preschool and the other at Trask Middle School. Those shelters will open at 5 p.m. today. We would ask if you're planning to come to a shelter this evening that you bring an evening snack or an evening meal with you. We won't have the shelters open in time to provide an evening meal, but we'll be prepared to do so if necessary tomorrow. One thing we want to encourage, because of the dangers of flash flooding, we met with each of the elected officials, the mayors, the town managers of the city of Wilmington and each of our 3 beaches this morning, and we are all issuing a voluntary evacuation order for the immediate beaches and those low-lying areas in our community that historically have been flood-prone. If you live in one of those areas where you've seen flooding in the past, it is quite likely that you will see flooding associated with this event. For that reason, we are asking you to voluntarily evacuate before those floodwaters rise. We saw last year at Edgewater Club Road, water came up pretty quickly and shut off 1,600 homes whose residents were unable to get in or out of their properties. We expect to see similar conditions with this event as well as some of the other streets in our community that historically flood. Racine Drive, South College near Wilshire, New Center, some of the other areas, Canal Drive at Carolina Beach, some of the other areas that are low-lying and typically flood, River Road, potentially parts of downtown, Front Street and Wilmington Water Street, not Front, but Water Street. So if you are in those areas, we would encourage you to go ahead and voluntarily evacuate, seek shelter. I know it's not raining now and it's hard for you to make that decision while it's not raining, but we do expect heavy rainfall to begin tomorrow morning and persist throughout the day and evening tomorrow. But again, we want you to be safe and be prepared to seek shelter if necessary. We will continue to monitor the storm, and if necessary, we will adjust those voluntary evacuation orders. It may become necessary at some point to make that a mandatory evacuation, so we will provide that information to you as soon as possible. I'd like now to turn it over to First Sergeant Troy Pope from North Carolina Highway Patrol, who wishes to share some information with you regarding travel.
Good morning. My name is Troy Pope. I'm the District First Sergeant for the State Highway Patrol, who oversees New Hanover and Brunswick County. With me is Lieutenant David Autry. He's stationed in Fayetteville, Troop B headquarters, and oversees my staff as well. I want to talk to you about the 3 times that the Highway Patrol is most concerned with right now, and that's pre-storm, during the storm, and post-storm. You just heard what Warren has told you, the information he's provided to you. Now is the time for you to do any traveling that you need to do. If you need to get out and get extra supplies that you haven't already purchased, or if you're someone who lives in those low-lying, flood-prone areas, now's the time for you to evacuate to more adequate places. Do that now. Don't wait till tomorrow to do it. You have a window of opportunity now where we have decent weather, and you need to take advantage of it. During the storm, from our standpoint, none of us up here can adequately predict what's going to happen to a particular road or particular location. We're only assuming based on things that we've seen in the past. If we get a lot of water, we could easily erode the foundation up under the highway, and you're driving into it and not able to see it. Driving through standing water is a terrible option. Do not choose that. It takes very little water to move an automobile, and generally it's going to move it to much deeper water. That's why it's running that way. We would encourage you during the storm to stay where you are. There again, pre-storm, get to places where it's not flood prone. During the storm, you need to hunker down. And then post-storm, what generally happens is, for those of you who've been with us before, it's really, really pretty after the storm, and everybody wants to get out and look around. I would encourage you not to do that. Our county and the state, they'll send resources and personnel out to make sure it's safe for you to do so. Mr. Lee's told you about down power lines. You don't need to drive through those type of things. Water that looks like it's safe still may not be. You need to give the rescue personnel time to get out and look at things, the assessment teams a chance to get out and look at things and make sure everything's okay. I promise you, you'll be advised when it's safe for you to go out. So please take heed to what we're telling you. What we don't want to do is have anybody get out there and get hurt or injured because they chose to make a poor decision. And there will come a time when things get so bad that sometimes personnel can't get to you. And so we need you to heed the advice we're giving you and hunker down during the storm. If I can answer any questions for you from a patrol standpoint, I'll be glad to do so. And if I can't, I'm sure Lieutenant Autry will assist me. Is there any questions you have of us as an organization? Okay, if not, I'll turn it back over to Madam Chair.
To mirror what the city's offices will also be closing at the same time the county's offices will also, and we ask all of our citizens to take proper precautions. This is an unpredictable storm, as Warren has us have all been looking at it for the last couple of days, and we don't know if it's going to make landfall. We don't know if it's going to veer out to sea, but right now it's getting very close to our area. So we ask all of our citizens to please take the necessary precautions and take care of yourselves and your families. Thank you.
Thank you all. Are there any questions you'd like to direct to Mr. Lee or our highway patrol folks?
Have some minor structural damage, so determining when it's safe for those guys to get out is going to be dependent on when those winds leave our area and they can safely travel about without fear of flying debris or not knowing if they're down power lines or other obstacles that may cause them harm.
Flooding is going to be a major issue for us here. and the down power lines. What is your main concern for people in this region who are going to stay here, possibly wait it out and not evacuate?
Our concern with that is always the need that people feel to do something. You know, this is not a storm. You're not going to make a difference if you stay in your home. There's nothing you're going to do to stop whatever is going to happen. We don't want you to stay there and risk that, especially during the storm. Don't get out and try to secure things that are blowing around during the middle of the storm. If you see down power lines, if you experience power outages, don't get out and start stumbling around, especially tomorrow evening in the dark, looking for causes. If you're insistent on staying here and you're outside of that danger area of flooding, stay put. Wherever you are, stay put. There's a chance that it's going to be widespread power outages for an extensive period of time. So, don't be alarmed if you get up Sunday morning and you have no electricity and you don't see the power trucks out during the day. Those guys are not going to come out and try to reestablish power until they can do so safely. If the wind's still gusting 30, 40 miles an hour, they're not going to put bucket trucks and individuals out there to try to work on power lines. So, it may be Monday before you see any restoration efforts even begin. And that's totally dependent on the extent of damage and how quickly the system moves out of here.
Are the warnings today different from the forecast in this morning's National Weather Service? It sounds like it's become a little more serious.
Well, this morning, first thing, we were under a hurricane watch because of the potential that it could come up the coast. As of 11 a.m., the National Hurricane Center upgraded that to a hurricane warning because hurricane conditions are likely in our area within the next 24 hours. Any other questions?
Well, just another question, I guess for Sergeant Pope. How would you guys advise people to navigate out of the city during the storm? And also, will you guys be updating or looking out for roads that are flooded, and if the rainfall should come earlier, or if there's people that are stranded out there? How should we know those things?
Okay, first of all, it's a voluntary evacuation right now. In the
Right.
event that they did a countywide evacuation, which I don't foresee that happening. But to answer your question, in the event that was to happen, we have what's called the Coastal Evacuation Plan. We have a very detailed plan that's been put in place for many, many years where a large number of Highway Patrol personnel will deploy to our area. We do that so we can have the personnel who are normally assigned here still answer calls for service and still provide the same things that our county needs. These other troopers that come in will work just that. They'll work strictly to get everybody out of New Hanover and Brunswick counties. And when I say coastal, that's the whole coast of North Carolina. It's not just our area. It's a very detailed plan. So we do have plans in place. I'm not going to say that they're flawless. I'll say they're very detailed, and they should go pretty well. But all that's dependent on what the citizens do. If something like that's instituted, you need to heed what we're telling you, and you need to move when we ask you to move. The second question you asked was about troopers out patrolling the roads and looking for things. They will be doing that. I have a group of troopers who are working right now in normal patrol duties. I have a large number of patrol personnel that will come in and do just the hurricane assignments for this weekend. Lieutenant Autry and I spoke earlier. We have the ability to stand up additional squads in Raleigh and stage them there and then bring them down. We're not doing that right now because, just like Mr. Lee said and Mayor Sappho said, this is a storm that has been highly unpredictable for us. Yesterday, everybody felt really good about it. I think it was 112, 114 miles offshore, and we came in this morning and it was 55 offshore, and now it's 26 offshore, I think is what Mr. Steele told me. So we're having to kind of wait because we want to deploy resources efficiently. We don't want to send folks down here just to sit. When we send them down, we need them to be working because they may have to deploy somewhere else. We may not take a bad a hit as maybe another county would, and we have to send those personnel there. But there will be troopers out working the road. We operate off a very detailed web EOC program in both counties. They're able to upload photographs, and we get real-time information, which is put out to y'all very, very quickly, in my opinion. So I don't think you'll be uneducated about the storm. Anything else for me? Okay.
Hanover County, we have an emergency web page that we stand up during these events. You can get to that through www.nhcgov.com. There's a link to that emergency page. We'll, depending on outside resources, as long as we have internet connectivity, we'll continue to push information to you. We utilize all of the social media tools we have available to us. Our public affairs staff will continue to push information out as we have it available, and we encourage you, if you feel unsafe and you're in a location that you have questions about, seek shelter. Don't wait till the last minute. Go ahead and heed our warnings and move to a safe location. So,
Thank you.
One more, just one last. Since there probably would not be a mandatory evacuation of the county, do you think there's any likelihood there might be mandatory evacuation of the beach towns?
That's entirely dependent upon the track. If we see another shift at the next there'll be an intermediate advisory at 2 o'clock from the Hurricane Center, and then the next full advisory will be at 5. If we see reason to believe, moving forward that a mandatory evacuation is in order, we certainly are prepared to do that if necessary.
Would that be a county or a local decision?
It's a decision we make in concert with the beaches primarily. Obviously, the beaches are our biggest concern, and along with the city and the low-lying areas we have within those areas. So it's a county-wide consensus decision. We work closely with our partners, and we all concur on what's best for the public. We have the authority, if necessary, at the countywide level to do it at the county level, but I don't foresee us doing a countywide evacuation. We're primarily concerned with those immediately flood-prone areas that we're historically aware of, and any new ones that potentially develop.
Thank you all for being here.